Welcome back, guys. This is part 2. Thank you again for joining me. So jumping right into it, as you can see, the markings have already been made in part 1. So we're just going to start using the seam ripper to remove the threading off of the closure. So I am using a different seam ripper. This one works a lot quicker and faster. It acts almost like a knife. It kind of looks like one. So it rips through the thread much easier. It goes underneath the thread much easier. I'm glad I had this one available as well. I will probably be using this one a lot more than the other one. The other one is just your traditional seam ripper that has just been around for decades. But this one is a little bit more innovative and efficient. So. Now I am switching up a few techniques from the last video because it just seems to be much easier. Now this is something new for me as well, so things change as I progress in this technique. As I did in the last video, I am only going down about 1 inch from the hairline so that I don't have to ventilate too much. You can go down as far as you want, but the more you take off, of course, the more you'll have to ventilate to replace. So just be mindful of that. Remember again to take your time. This is not a rushing process. This is definitely one of those moments to just kind of enjoy the process. You don't want to puncture holes in the lace, so taking your time is quite crucial. So you will probably get holes in some areas, but the goal is just to minimize it as much as possible. So I'm not here to say don't get any holes in your lace. Even if you do, you can always cover it up with some hairs around it. There's going to be enough hair on the whole front of this lace to cover up any punctures you might have, but you want to definitely minimize it. You don't want a whole bunch of holes in there. So this process is moving a lot faster with this kind of seam ripper. So if you are looking for a seam ripper or something to remove the threading with, this particular brand is really good. I'll try to find this one online and see if I can get a link at the bottom in the description box so you guys can get that if you're on the look for a seam ripper. If you already have one, the good old-fashioned one works as well. But this one definitely, this one is good. This one is good. So of course, just like in the last video, if you need to, go ahead and cut some of those threads off as you remove it so that they're not in the way. You definitely don't want to have all of that fraying thread just kind of hanging around. Having as much visibility as you possibly can is really important, just to be able to see and operate in clear vision. You don't want to make this harder than it has to be, And in this process, I'm just ripping the thread off and then stretching it apart, ripping the thread and then kind of pulling it apart. That just helps to kind of, loosen that thread up a little bit, but just rip and loosen, rip and loosen. So as you prepare to cut, just make sure that all of the hairs, all of the ventilated hair areas is kind of out of the way so that you're not cutting any of the ventilated center part hair. You just want to cut the tracks. And when you cut, just make sure that you're cutting to that indicated line so you're not removing more than you need to. As much as you remove is how much you'll have to replace. So you can definitely remove less if you don't want to go the whole 1 inch down, or you can remove more if you want to go a little bit further down. But because we're just working on the hairline, you don't have to go that far back, because there's no reason why this part of the closure would even show. So really you can go less than an inch, but I wouldn't necessarily go more. It just doesn't seem like it would benefit at all. It would just be more time spent on something that doesn't need the time spent on. So yes, so you can go a 1/2 inch instead of an inch, but I wouldn't go 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches back. Unless you were doing maybe a bang. That'd be kind of cool if you did a bang and you wanted to go back a little bit further to make sure that you have all this area here. That would be kind of cool. Maybe I'll do a video like that. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. cut pieces aside, this is what you're going to be using to ventilate with. So don't throw it away, don't toss it. But really, I have plenty of hair left over from the last video that I could use that to continue on with the ventilation. So that's just how much hair you'll have left. You're gonna be using a lot less hair for ventilating than there was for the tracks. So you'll have some hair left over if you wanna save it or do something with it or whatever. But yeah, it's gonna be there. Now you want to cut off about 18 inches of thread for stitching the track cut pieces back down so that it doesn't unravel as you wear your unit and play with it and all this. You want it to be intact and beautiful for as long as possible. So we're going to sew it back down. And in order to do that, you're just going to need thread and a needle. If you have any knowledge of needle and thread stitching, then you know what to do. If you don't, just guide that thing through the eye of the needle. That's probably the longest and most difficult thing to do. Once you've done that, tie a knot on the end and you got yourself a handheld sewing machine. Of course, we want to make sure that we're focusing all of our attention on the side of the closure that we're working on. So I'm going to take a moment now to go ahead and braid the side that I am not working on so that is out of the way. But in that braid, I'm gonna make sure that I include this center part as well. So of course, in the center part, there's a little bit of ventilated hairs that that creates that natural look. Make sure that all of that hair is on the side of the braid, so that on the other side, all you have is tracks. You don't have any ventilated hair on that side that you're working on, because you really just want to be able to see. It doesn't have to be super, super neat, so don't worry about that. You just want to kind of get it so that it doesn't come out. Mine was not the best braiding. It kept unraveling, but if you have a hair tie or a rubber band, if you want to just wrap the rubber band around the ends to hold it in place, that's probably more ideal. It definitely unraveled a few times for me, so. Now I am going to do a over-under stitching technique, which is just your basic needle and thread stitch technique. So it's nothing to it. But if you're new to sewing or stitching in general, all you're doing is pushing the needle through the width from above, then grabbing the needle from below, pulling the thread through, and then repeating that process. So we're going to repeat that process on each track or each width 4 times to really hold it in place. And then we'll move on to the next one. And then we'll do that for each width. And I believe there's 4 widths on this, so you'll do it 16 times in total. 4 times 4, right? 16. 4. Yeah. But make sure when you are stitching the width back onto the closure that you are piercing the needle through the width, not just through the hair. You really want to make sure that that needle is going through that track, not just through the hair, because if the hair starts moving, jiggling and stuff, you just don't want that to get loose. So getting it through that width is really important to just really like solidify and just hold that piece there so that your wig lasts as long as possible. If you need to move the hair out of the way to pin it down with your thumb and your index, that helps visibility. So I would suggest doing that, because you really just want to be able to see. You're not going to be, the hairs are laying down this way, so which means they are laying on the track. So you will have to like kind of lift it, move it out the way to get to the width of it and really like puncture it through. So yeah, just make sure you're getting it through the width, not just through the hair. Once you reach completion, you want to knot the ends by stitching upward halfway through the lace with the needle sticking out of the lace. Wrap the loose thread twice around the needle and push the needle through the lace. Pull the thread firmly to create a knot. That is, for me, that's the easiest way to create a knot. If you have your own special way of creating a knot, comment below. Let me see how your knot tying is. But yeah, I think that's probably the easiest way. If you have something else, then please share, or just do it yourself. Do the knot that you know how to do. But that one I think is a very simple, very clean, very efficient knot to create. So now you want to grab the cut pieces of weft hair and remove the track. Set it aside, of course, set it aside if you don't already have enough. But if you have enough, I mean, by all means, throw it away if you want. But now we are going to pull out our mannequin head. You're going to have the mannequin head facing you to start, and then you're going to place your closure right on top of the head. Use T-pins on the corners of your lace for security. Make sure the section of the lace you are working on is as flat as possible. It helps to put about 4 T-pins on the corners of the section that you are working on. pull the top portion about 2.5 inches down. Fan it out just to make the pulling of the hair strands a little bit easier. Hold the hair comfortably in your resting hand as you hold the ventilating needle in your operating hand, which just means the hand that you write with, the hand that you operate the most with, that's your strong hand. So you're gonna wanna have the ventilating needle in that one. The opposite hand is your resting hand, and you'll have the hair holding it there. So I changed up this process just a little bit in this second video. Instead of going from the track up to the hairline, I'm going from the hairline down towards the track. I did find that this way was a lot easier than to do it the other way. So I'm glad I did do this second video. If you like the first technique, by all means do it that way. But this is another way that you can do it, and you might find it just a little bit easier. So start ventilating from the top of the hairline and move downward to the track. Grab only about 1 to 2 strands of hair at a time. And just make sure that you are getting into the habit of pulling the needle away from you rather than towards you. One, you're not gonna hurt yourself or your garment, because it will stick to and grab onto anything it touches, really. So that's number one. You won't hurt yourself or your clothes. But also, you are allowed a lot more flowiness if you go this way versus trying to go this way. You know, you have to you stop right there if you're doing it this way versus you're like this with that, you know, like it's like, you know, it's a lot easier. So get in the habit of pushing it this way, like you're dealing cars. Again, as I always say, guys, ladies, take your time, take your time, take your time. If you're new to ventilating, if you're old to ventilating, take your time, take your time. This is the process. And it could be an enjoyable process if you know that you don't have to rush. So take your time. another tip I want to give is that because you're working on the hairline, this is not a full lace wig where fullness is really important. This is the hairline. So actually spreading out the hairs is really important. Like airing it out a bit is really important, because you really want to create a more natural, a more airy hairline. So that's a really great plus to doing this alteration. You don't have to work you don't have to do so much. The process is much faster because you are allowed to spread out the hairs so that you're not spending a whole bunch of time having to go through each hole or every other hole. So it just makes the process so much faster. So don't get too worried that you're not getting each hole, or you're not going through enough holes. You really do want to actually spread it out. So that helps you on time, and it just makes your wig look a lot more natural, because again, this is the hairline. This is the hairline. This is the hairline. You don't want like a whole bunch of hair. You want All right, and that is it, guys. We did it. We did it. We did it, but not really. We still have a little bit further to go. What I like to do as well is I like to spread out that hairline as far as I possibly can go with it. So I'm gonna take it from end to end. I'm gonna go as far as I can to the edges of the lace, leaving only about 1 centimeter of lace. I really want to stretch out that lace as much as possible so that it covers the front area as much as it can. You know, why not? You're already ventilating, so why not try to get as much coverage in the front as possible? And you don't have to go all the way back with this process, just the front, because again, you won't even be able to see back here anyway. So you want to go all the way across, leaving only about a centimeter of lace, and then go about 1/4 of an inch back. So you don't have to go as far back as you did with the bulk of the ventilating, just about 1/4, because again, you're not going to see it anyway. So I'm going a little bit closer towards the front so that I can air out those baby hairs and the front hairline as much as I can. And then I'm going out to the sides, leaving only about a centimeter of lace. And I'm just going 1/4 of an inch back in that front area, because you don't really need to go further back than that. No one is going to see it anyways. And that is it, guys. We did it. We did it. We did it. You did it. You did it. I know you did it. You did it. You did it. I did it too. We did it. We did it. Okay, we did it. Yeah, so I love the finish. I love the finish. The before was cool. You know, some people will wear the wigs just like that and be perfectly happy with it. And some people won't. So I'm in that category that won't do it. You know, I'm just in that category. So I'm glad that I took the time and the opportunity to alter it just a little bit so that it fits me. The gist of it is do what you feel like. You know, do what's best for you. You know how you like your wigs. You know how you like your hairline to look. You know how you like to present yourself to the world. So present yourself the best possible way you can in your own way. So this is my way, and I appreciate you guys for watching. I thank you guys. I know this video was long. I just really wanted to show you guys as much of a realistic version as I could of the process. This is not a quick little 10-minute process. This is gonna take a few hours, but totally worth it. Thanks guys for watching. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. I got way more videos coming up. If you enjoyed this video, please do share it with your friends and your family. Press that like button down below. Comment if you have your own techniques or if you want to share some thoughts and ideas. I am here. I am listening. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.